If you want to check out a few looks using the Chanel Lebe Natural Eyeshadow Collection, then please keep on watching. Hello my friends, if it's your first time here, my name is Alicia. Thank you so much for stopping by. And if you are returning, I appreciate you so much. Kinky Sweat stands for my kinky hair and sweat life. I'm a fitness professional who loves everything movement and beauty. If you want to check out what I do in between the makeups, you can head over to my Instagram for daily movement musings. This was highly requested as some of you wanted to see looks using this Chanel palette. I rarely buy Chanel makeup, but something about this spoke to me. I'm not typically a fan of eyeshadows from Chanel as I feel they're very sheer and lightweight, and I think that formula serves a purpose for some who just want an easygoing eyeshadow formula that doesn't require a lot of blending, that doesn't have a lot of impact initially, so they feel more comfortable applying those shades, and there's a lot more room to mess up because they're sheer. So if you put on a bold purple matte, you're gonna need some blending skills to make that happen in a positive way. Full disclaimer, I got this on a discount. I have a Chanel hookup, so this retails for $75. It is a small palette. You get very small pans, but this is a luxury brand. This is very typical of Chanel. A lot of her 9 pan, how many shadows are in here? Hello math. $75 for 9 eyeshadows is very expensive, but that aligns with a lot of makeup in the Chanel line. There's this other one with the green and the blue turquoise that I also have my eye on, so I think I might pick that up as well. A few more details. This is made in Italy, and the suggested shelf life here is 18 months. The net weight is 0.22 ounces or 6.3 grams. Right off the bat, you think, Alicia, these are very boring colors. What's wrong with you? You just did a multi-chrome video. I totally understand, but I feel this has a place in someone's makeup routine who just needs the taupes and the browns. Different variations of those colors that are easy to use for everyday work looks. You need to bump it up for an event you have to attend, and everything in between. I think these colors are very useful for those circumstances. And of course the compact is the beige and black, which is like my favorite, and it has a pretty big mirror. It's edge to edge, so I think this is great to travel with as well. I will do each look using the trio. I always believe that if you have a foundation that you can do anything from that place, and I feel because we'll do a look with each trio, maybe that would give you a little more confidence in navigating this palette on your own. Then you could skip around using that shade with that shade with that shade. I think I'm going to stick to the trios for this tutorial, so you'll have a better idea of how the shades look, and then you could have a little more fun on your own bopping around. Okay, and with all that said, on the lids, I have my Too Faced Multi-Use Concealer, the Born This Way concealer in Natural Beige. I will leave it unset because that's typically how I like to apply my shadows. The first trio we'll start with is here, and going in with this taupey shade with a Hakuhoro J5522. These shades don't have names, so I'm just gonna show them to you. Hopefully you could kind of figure it out if you have this palette as well. There's not a whole lot of kickback in the pan, but they are on the soft side for sure. First, going in with that shade I just showed in and on the crease. And this is perhaps one of my favorites. I would dare say this is like a matte. I just realized I didn't do swatches, so I'll do swatches after we do the looks. And as you know, I will have all time stamps down below, so if you want to see swatches first or just swatches period, then head on over to that portion of the video. But this is probably one of my most favorite, I am going to say, matte shades. It's neutral, but it's not super cool toned. Definitely leaning more cool. I see that, but I feel it's just a nice, soft, everyday type of a shade that adds nice contour to the eyes, but it's not overwhelming. And I'm very happy with how these shadows are blending. They're very soft and silky and look skin-like once you get them in and on the lid. So that's the first shade. Isn't that pretty? Hakuhoro B142 with this top darker brown shade. I'm gonna pop that onto the outer V. This has a little bit of sheen to it, but it still looks pretty satin on the lid when you get it in and blend in. And I feel that adds really nice depth to the eyes. Placing some on the inner V as well. Pulling it through the crease to connect. Got a little messy there. what's happening. I'm gonna clean that up a little bit. Back with my J5522 to Zhuzh Sonaji Builder Pro. And with this very like pinky type of, oop, that was not the right color. It's like a pinky type of metallic shade. So let's go in first dry, see what we got. Oh, that's very light. What I'll do now is pat in and around my lid. So I'm trying to keep it under those shades we applied first. Back with my B142 to blend the edges, and I'm actually tapping into that darker brown shade again to apply more around that metallic. That's very pretty. I know it's light, but I think it adds really great highlight to the center of the eye. Not bad applied dry either. Taking Builder Pro with that darker brown shade, placing it on the outer third right here, completing the look, adding some smoke now to the lower lash line. This might be a little too fluffy, but I really love a smoky lower lash line. So we'll go in with the first shade, B142, all under the lash line. Back in with that metallic shade, inner third. Because now we want to use the same metallic shade on the inner corner, I will wet that same shade with the MAC Black and add that to the inner corner, so that really brings out more light, makes it more shiny for sure. And I'm patting down whatever's left over more on the center of the lid. I'm not an eyeliner type of girl. If you want to proceed with a brown liner or even a black one, you could smudge it or you can make a liquid wing, whatever you love to do, but I'm going to keep it at this. Do the other eye, apply some more lashes, and I'll be right back. On the lashes, I have Kisses Ritzy lashes, but I'm just trying for the first time, and I like them. They remind me of the Ardell Demi Wispies. And here's the completed look on both eyes. And here's a wide shot of the look, friends. On the lips, I have Charlotte Tilbury's Lip Cheat in Iconic Nude on top, and her Kissing lipstick in Hepburn Honey. This is a very soft eye, and I know it's nothing outrageously different from what we haven't seen before. I think what draws me to this palette is the fact that it's Chanel, and I was very impressed, and I'm still impressed by the quality of the shadows, how easy they are to work with, and I think ideal for someone who is not eyeshadow friendly or they are intimidated by them. They are on the softer side, which I feel is a little easier to blend, but they're not going to hit you a crazy color initially, so you have time to build it up to the intensity you want and not feel like you're going to mess up. So that is definitely a benefit of using this palette, and I think this is beautiful for work or even for evening. It's still smoky enough to give the eye some character, some depth, but if you're scared of using black because you're like, I don't want to use black every time I use it, Raccoon Eye City, then I feel these colors will be perfect for you. So with that said, let's get on to the next look. Makoto J5522 with this very cool shade. I'm actually excited. This seems to be the cooler trios out of the bunch. So let's see how this looks on the crease. It's definitely more gray toned than the first shadow we applied. I'm dipping in a couple of times because I need my crease color to show up, but for someone who just wants a lighter wash of color, maybe they'll go in 1 or 2 times. I'm working it on the outer corner and I'm pulling it out a little bit. That's actually quite pretty. Even though it's gray toned, I think it's still very, very nice on the skin. Now the reason I'm building this up because this is the only matte type of shadow in this trio. Typically, if you want to build color with the same color, you'll pick another brush that's more densely packed. In this case, I'm picking up the Wayne Goss number 6 brush. This was in his Anniversary 2 set with the same shade, and I'm packing that down on the outer V because I want more intensity here on the part of the lid, because again, this is the only shade in this trio that we have to set up. But again, if you want to jump around and maybe use this shade to build up more color or even this shade, you are more than free to do that. And then once we've gotten that on the lid, I'm going back with my J5522 to just blend out the edges of that application. Now my Sonaji Builder Pro with this silver shade. I'll go in with it dry first. So it's okay. It definitely has beautiful shine, but I want this to spread a lot more with that said, taking a lot on the brush, hitting it with some Max Fix Plus so that we can make it more metallic and have more movement so I could take it further and around my lid. Excuse me. Sorry, that was blurry when I was yapping away. Picking up more. Definitely, I recommend that you wet this shade to get full color impact and ultimate shine. And I'm using my fingers to dab around the edges. Going back with my Wayne number 6 to dab around the edges of the metallic shade so that could appear more blended. Number 6 on the outer, well, actually just all across because this is the only matte that we have here. Dabbing into that silver again, hitting the inner third of my lower lash line. Now with this pink shade, very similar to the one we had in this trio, but I think this is a little more like champagne-y, and this is more distinctly pink. Yep, you can't see it on camera because I'm sitting in front of my window, but if I tone down the exposure, I feel you can see that it's more pink versus champagne-y pink from the last look. Using my fingers again to just zhuzh. We like to zhuzh here on this channel. All right, friends, let's do the other eye and I'll be right back. Here's a completed look, and on the lashes, we have the same style from Kiss in Ritzy. And here's a wide shot, friends, and on the lips I have the same combo from the last look, but I topped it off with Pat McGrath's Lip Good Lust and For Real. I rather like this. It's gray, it's silver, it's cool tone, but it's different, and I think it's a nice escape from taupey browns or just neutral browns in general. And I think the lids look fantastic. They're shiny, they're metallic, they're silvery, but it doesn't look too out of place gray, you know what I mean? I think this is a great tone of gray. Like, it has enough body and color to it that it doesn't look dusty on the skin. And yes, I'm only NC42, so I know I'm not the deepest of complexion. If you're around me, I think this will show up quite beautifully on the lids. And if you are deeper than me and you have this palette, let us know down below what your experiences have been with these shades. But I absolutely love how this matte blended on the lids, and I just love the smoke it created again with its gray tone and not looking too ashy or overly cool on the eyes. And the pink tone of that highlighter shade from the trio, I think just brings it in a way that doesn't make it look too whitish and silvery all together on the eyes. I think it adds a nice element of warmth that just comes out of nowhere. You got silver and gray, and then you got like a pink tone color on the inner corner, but it works. It absolutely works. This is a great eyeshadow combination. I think this is fantastic. Perhaps my favorite so far, because I think I'm just surprised with how well this gray looks, but it doesn't cool the rest of my face. You know, having bronzer and some blush on, I think it's just a nice combination. And definitely, if I mean, this is my opinion, but if you were going for a nude, I would definitely go for a nude that's more beigey in tone, because if it's peachier in tone, I don't know how that will mesh with the gray shadow, but I definitely try to keep the nude more beige neutral than anything, and I think it works out pretty well. All right, friends, let's get into the last look, and I'll see you back here. Third look, friends, let's get into it. Judging from the shades we're about to dip into, this will perhaps be the smokiest of the bunch. This shade has some shimmer in it, but we're gonna use it in our crease anyway. Hakuhodo J5522. Yeah, this definitely has a little more shimmer in it, and because of that, I feel it's not going in as smoothly maybe as a truer matte in the palette. But the more you buff it, the more you get to see that there's like a mauve-y thing going on up in here. This could probably suffice as a one eyeshadow look type of shade where you just apply it on the lid much like you would a shimmer, and then you buff out the edges of it so it could travel up towards the crease and appear smoky. So that's like another look you can do all together. Just use this shadow and then apply it all over the eyes. I think that would be quite beautiful. You know what? That's what I'm gonna do. Originally, I was gonna apply this to the lid, but I think I'll reserve that for the inner third. We'll still swatch the shade after this look, so if you are interested to see how it appears on its own on a wider surface area, then you'll have the opportunity. Wayne number 6 again with that same shade, and I'm pulling it across the lid, and I think that's quite beautiful. This is a very nice plummy type of shade. It's not super purple, but you see that there's a hint of that in there. Absolutely. And I'm just using my J5522 to smooth out the inner portions of the eye. Now, this is a very, very deep shadow. Going in with my Sonia G Crease 1. I believe originally she first released this as a dyed goat hair brush, but now the second release is undyed. This definitely has a little more kickback to it because it has sparkles in the matte. So because of that formulation, it will be drier. I will pat this down first. If I could stay in focus, maybe you can see. And then I'm swirling this in and around, pulling it through the crease and slightly out. You could also use this shade as a liner, make it nice and smudgy and smoky. Or you could use this all over the lid as we did with the first shade if you want it super, super smoky. I'm also taking that dark brown shade on the outer third, connecting it to the top while we're here. You see what I mean? You see how much smoke we got? J5522 just to further blend and blur. Now going in with this beautiful gold shade, definitely wetting right on the inner third. Isn't that beautiful? I think that adds such a nice touch to the look if you want to keep it very smoky up here. And let's put that also on the inner corner. I'm taking my Hakuhoro B142 and just further blurring that deeper brown shade so it could appear a little smoother. I think the Crease 1 is great for those with smaller eyes that needs a more precise point to pull the shadow across their crease and it not travel too far up. But since I have a bigger lid, I need something fluffier to diffuse the shadow so it doesn't look as precise. You know what I'm gonna do actually? I will apply this dark brown all over the lid because I don't like how it just kind of has that empty spot randomly. Maybe if I were placing the gold shade on my lid, it will make sense to have those brackets, but they don't really translate the same here when I apply them on top of each other. So I'm taking my Wayne number 6 again with this dark brown shade. Hello, are you gonna focus on me? And then pull it across the lid. I feel this is going to make this eye look a little more complete and definitely very smoky. Taking a little bit of that mauve shade again with my J5522 and just further zhuzhing. So this is definitely very, very smoky. All right. So there I'll be right back. Look completed, friends, and again, same lashes from Kiss in Ritzy. And the reason why I wear lashes for these multi-look videos is because I find that they are easier to remove as a strip than remove mascara from my lashes each and every time. So I totally agree. I would wear mascara on the regular and definitely it will look more natural, but every now and again on a very smoky look such as this, I will probably wear lashes just so that they have something to stand against and it'll look a little more glamorous. And here's a wide shot, friends. Same lip combo from the last look and same gloss on top. I rather love this. This is definitely the smokiest out of the bunch. You could approach that trio in several different ways. You could just apply that mauvey sparkly shade on its own, or maybe you apply the gold all over your lid and just use a little bit of that mauve shade or even the dark brown shade to deepen it. But these pack a punch, and I feel you have to go very light-handed if you just want a little bit of smoke, or maybe you use either of those shadows as a liner instead. I think this is a great way to go if you don't want to rely on black and want to create smoke. One thing to know, this shade in particular, the plummy one, does have like glitters in it. So if you're not looking to use that as a blend out shade, but I think it still blends out pretty well. You might see specks of that glitter strewn across the lid or crease. I wouldn't get cooked up over it. I would just use the brush, blend it out, and it'll spread very nicely. And this shade all over the lid just adds beautiful smoke, and these tones together I feel are just exceptional, and they highlight each other well. They really elevate that smoky eye experience, and having this pop of bronze gold on the lower lash line and also on the inner corner just makes it real nice. So let's quickly get into these swatches. Again, these shades don't have any names, so we'll begin with this one, and this is a light pinky champagne-y. shade. Up next, we have our brown taupe. Very soft and easy to work with. Next shade up is a little deeper and can be used to, oh, actually I think this one's the deeper one and then this one is the lighter, but this is a great trio for the first look. I think you will rather enjoy it. Up next is the more gray toned matte, so that's how it looks there. Up next is our pinky type of highlight here, and then we have our very shiny silver, probably the shiniest out of the whole palette. Now we have our mauvey plummy matte sparkly hybrid, our bronzy gold metallic shade, and lastly our dark brown with the sparkles in there as well. I'm happy that I did the swatches after because you can see from this swatch it doesn't look impressive at all, but when you saw it on the lid and how beautifully it builds and how it gets into that rich gray tone, you're like, oh, that's actually quite nice. And again, I think swatches serve a purpose of just that immediate gratification, just so you can see the shade on different tones of skin and how it could possibly appear on the lid, but you have to take into consideration what primer do you use, what skin texture you have on your lids, what brush are you using. All those factors will contribute to how the shadow applies on the lids. And with my hot glue holder brushes, I think natural hair brushes are best with powders. They deliver the best impact, the smoothest blend and application, and that's why I feel I was successful with these shades, because again, I could go in with this shade just to kind of deepen the swatch and it still doesn't look that impressive, but I loved how it looked on the crease when we built it up. This shade looks really smooth on the swatch, but when you start blending it out on the crease, you can see more of the sparkle, more so than you can see it here on the skin. This gold bronzy shade, I believe, has the most punch out of all the metallics in here. The silver is definitely more like a veil of silver, so if you want to use that more as a topper shade on the other metallics or use it as a standout alone shade, then definitely wet it, because on its own dry, I don't think you're going to get that metallic wet look without wetting the brush. I think the textures in this palette offer a wide spectrum of use. You have your matte satin types that are not completely the same like Charlotte's formula in her Icon palette. I think Charlotte's formula is has a little more punch than these textures, but you can build these up beautifully on the lids. $75 is a lot for one palette that is quite small. Again, it is Chanel. This is not different from the price points that are usually presented in the makeup line. I think if you are a lover of Chanel, or you always wanted to purchase one of their products but couldn't decide if you wanted to get a quad or a single, I think this is probably the best bang for your buck, because you get quite a bit of product, and you know, you probably will find great use of this for an everyday type of eyeshadow palette. Is it mind-blowingly different from everything else that's on the market? No, but it is Chanel, and it's just nice to use a luxury product, at least for me, that performs exceptionally well and that's pretty easy to use. For instance, one of her multi-effect Quadra eyeshadows is $62 and you get 4 shadows in that. Another one is $65. One pot is $36. One eyeshadow is $32. Another eyeshadow palette is $70 and you only have 5 eyeshadows in that one. So $75 for 9 shadows in comparison to the other palettes available on Chanel.com, I think is a pretty good buy within the realm of Chanel pricing. If you still think that's too much and you're like, luxury products are not for me, I don't find any use for them, I don't think they're worth spending my money on, I totally get it. If you had your eye on this palette specifically, I think it is well worth the buy, simply because if you are into these shades, and I do think they're different enough to create varied looks with, despite that they are within the same realm tone of taupey, mauvey, neutral browns, but I can never get enough of those shades. I feel they always have a role in anyone's makeup collection, even if you're like chill about eyeshadow, so that if you are in need of a cool taupey neutral type of brown to give your eye crease some contour, or just to give it a little bit of smoke, but they're user friendly, so whatever brush you use, again, I think natural hair is best, but even if you have a synthetic brush, I still think you can make it happen. beautiful smoke, soft shadow texture that's easy to work with and easy to build. They don't get muddy at all when you combine them, which I think is another great benefit from this eyeshadow formula. If you do decide to buy it, I don't think you'll be disappointed. And this actually motivates me to get the other 9-pan shadow palette with the greens and the blues, because I'm very interested to see how those shades work with this formula. I think this formula is very different than the ones in her quads. As you know, Michelle Wong has a lot of Chanel, so she will be best to view in terms of hearing her compare the different formulas within the Chanel eyeshadow family. All in all, I hope this video helped, friends. If you have this palette or if you had your eye on it but you weren't too sure how to navigate it, how to use it, if it was going to be great for your lifestyle, for your wheelhouse of colors, then hopefully this video helped in providing that inspiration. And quick note, I just ordered the Jackie Aina palette, so hopefully it'll be here in 2 days, because I opted for like the 2-day shipping that was like half off, so it was only $6. So I'm like, why not? That is coming because I know many of you have been asking for it, but I wanted to get this up first because I was also asked to do a multi-look video using the Chanel palette. So with that said, friends, that is a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. And until then, I'll see you on here again with another tutorial, multi-look video, top 5 or review. Take care, and I'll see you again soon.